Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions. I am your Snap DJ, your host with the most, and I'm coming to you live tonight from my living room. Yes, that's right, my living room. My study, if you will. You can see the big comfy red chair and, not the gaming chair that normally I have when I'm doing although that's comfortable too. But I'm coming to you tonight because it is OTA day. It is OTA day, and we're going to talk about this OTA. Well, a lot of changes. Now, we know that we're not getting anything else the rest of this month, right? So this month is finished as far as getting any kind of stuff, any kind of patches or anything like that. We're not getting any more of that. So this is it. And so the patch we got the other day and then the changes we're getting today is going to be it for the rest of this month. So let us go over all of these changes, shall we? And let me just read what they have here. A company holiday overlaps. What would be the next OTA for November? I'm in like a comfy chair. I feel like I'm reading like a book to everybody. It's kind of funny. So this week's update will be something special. Rather than shoehorn in makeup updates, we're planning to take a balance break and make this week a supersized, kind of like McDonald's OTA. Or actually supersized drinks. Many of you probably don't know where supersized originated from. It originated back in the 80s from a place called 7-Eleven when they made the Big Gulp. This was a way too large cup of soda that kids probably didn't need in the first place. And then ever since then, the supersized term came to pass. And then all of a sudden you had supersize it with meals and all that kind of stuff too. So that's where just a little bit of 80s history for you. Our goal is to knock a few of the top decks back down to earth and provide some interesting tweaks to keep you all occupied in the coming weeks. Nice rhyme. All along with one big change to a particular snap-happy villain. Who can that be? A snap-happy, who can that be? Who can that be? We'll see. All right, we're going to start off with Agent Venom, who a lot of people were hoping would have been nerfed before this. But he's getting a nerf. He's going from a 2-4 to a 2-5, and on reveal, set the power of all cards in your deck to 4, and that is now going to 3. So he goes to a 2-5, a point of power, but loses the 4, which goes down to a 3. Agent Venom's gameplay goal was to fuel a variety of interesting decks, ideally by aiding a few cards that were struggling to find their place. In practice, that didn't quite work out. 4 power was high enough to be a gain, or at least not a loss, to many existing strong cards. And we saw a number of Agent Venom variations of previously strong strategies emerge. This would mostly be fine, except that as the season ended, these decks were growing their metagame share and becoming more dominant, while the decks we'd hoped to spawn are largely not competing. To correct in the direction of those goals, we're tightening the reward to narrow how many cards it can positively impact. Since we expect this to be meaningfully more restrictive to build around, we're compensating Agent Venom's base power a bit. So this should, and now it's one of those changes where I don't know that it will, that it's going to wipe out the deck totally. I think people will still play it, but I do not think that it's going to be as powerful. These decks are mostly finishing you off with an Iron Man and a Mystique possibly, using Thena in there to get her big, and it's just, there's just a certain couple of cards that it uses to win games. So losing 1 point of power probably isn't going to affect an Iron Man play all that much. So I really don't know that this is going to wipe these decks out. It might make them a little less stronger, but I think they're still going to be out there. And so, I know players will just the fact that they know and we know that players will tend to gravitate away from a card once it gets nerfed. And this is kind of a big nerf. So they may do that, and they may just stop the growth of the deck a little bit or kind of stunt it. But in either case, I think it's still going to be played. I don't think it's going to go away forever. So that was a big one. This next one, I think, marks the first time that this has been done to a card while you're still able to get the season pass. And that is Surtur. Surtur's getting nerfed. The same text applies, but he's going from a 3-5 to a 3-4. So just a point of power difference. But that's, I think, the first time they've ever done that, where you can obviously still purchase it, and now it goes down to a 3-4. For the bulk of Surtur's internal development, the Scar deck, revolving around cards with 10 or more power, wasn't a strong performer. That's kind of crazy. You would think that they would have had strong performances from it. We wanted Surtur to be enough of a boost to push it into the competitive limelight, and it tuned accordingly. However, in the weeks after we finalized the card, but before release, we saw the deck grow into its own quickly. This sort of thing happens sometimes, and more often than you might realize. It's a core challenge of coordinating fast-moving internal playtest environments alongside OTA balance updates to forecast dual outcomes. However, in this case, it led to Surtur's play rate exploding outside our tolerance for healthy metagame diversity almost immediately. We're making a couple of tweaks to reconcile that and ensure that the season pass is fueling a fun deck that's competitive without drowning out other enjoyable strategies. Again, it's a point of power. So, your first 2 hits, and more than likely you're going to get 3 to 4 hits on this card, right? When he was a 3-5, he could be a 3, he could go up. He could be a 3-7, 3-10, 3-13, 3-8, 3-11, 8, 11, 14. Maximum I think I've seen him probably was a 17. You're probably closer to a 3-11 or 3-14, but that's still pretty high. Well, now he's going to just be a 3-4, so he's going to go to 3-7, 3-10. So he's going to be a 3-13. Probably top out at a 3-13. So yeah, you're really getting him down from a 3-17 to a 3-13. So that is taking a chunk out of it. But again, I think more than likely, this is one of those things where it's going to just affect it because it's gotten a nerf. And so people may just not play it as much anymore. I do think that the Toxic deck that has come out using Malekith, which I've been playing, could be stopping the Surtur a little bit more as well, because that plays with a lot of anti-Surtur cards. U.S. Agent being one. It plays with Luke Cage. It plays with Man-Thing. It plays with Hazmat. So those decks might have been kind of getting stopped anyway. And there also is the deck out there that has Scorpion in it, which Scorpion really kind of shuts this deck down. It takes the cards under 10, and you're not getting that Surtur bonus much at all anyway. So, and then there's a change coming up as well that we're going to talk about that's going to worsen it even more. So, I don't know. It could be the end of the Surtur dominance. We'll just have to see as we go. And then this is the next one. Scar is going from a 6-11 to a 6-10. So just 1 point of power. And it says here, interestingly, Scar has been a bit scary internally from time to time, but rarely made big waves in the metagame. However, before Surtur's debut, Scar was far and away the best card in that deck. And it's still fairly tight race between 2 of them now. Trimming down a little power here will similarly weaken some of the strongest draws. So, you're most of the time holding on to that Scar until the very end of the game in a Surtur deck where, it's getting out there, and it could sometimes be a 0, where it might be a 0 cost 11 card that you're throwing out in the last turn, along with something else, along with another card that may buff. So you might be able to put an 11 and a 10 out on turn 6, 21 points of power, plus you're getting the plus 4, plus 3 to Surtur. So that's, that was probably, that's tough to deal with. That's 21, 24. That's 24 points on the last turn that you're getting there. So again, I think that it's just going to calm this all down. Scar is now, I think, one of the lowest Hulks there is. Yeah, because you have Red Hulk, who's a 10, but he always gets bigger. You have She-Hulk, who's a 10. You have, what am I missing? Hulkling, who's a 12. The high Evo Hulk, of course, is bigger. And then this guy is a 10. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. I don't know if they're going to do anything further with it, maybe, but it's probably the combination with Surtur and with this card is probably going to make people play the deck less, I'm thinking. So, oh boy, Shadow King. This is a case of they should have just nerfed Agent Venom to begin with. Instead, they buffed Shadow King. Everyone kind of thought this was a really foolish thing to do anyway. So they're reverting the buff. It's just going back to a 2-2. We made this change to Shadow King with the last OTA to ensure that any deck could justify including this tech card. Given the strength of Agent Venom with Surtur incoming. That went fine. In fact, Shadow King's actual win rate took a meaningful dip as the play rate grew. However, given the changes we're making above, we're hoping it's not necessary to maintain Shadow King at an above average rate. Doing so could have a negative impact on some other strategies. Thus, we're reverting that change. Not really surprised. It really shouldn't have been done in the first place. It didn't really matter one way or the other. Next up, we have Black Widow. This is interesting because I did see in my gameplay over the past few days, and it was when I was tilting, when I was getting beat a lot, I played a Black Widow deck. Now, I don't see many of those, but I played this one where they were on, they played her on turn 3, and I'm like, I never really care about one of those. In fact, I had my Atuma out anyway, so I'm like, who cares? I'll just stick it in the Atuma lane, it'll blow it up anyway. But then they used a Misery, and they did it again. And then they somehow did it a third time where I end up not getting a draw for 3 straight turns. Now, I'd never seen that deck before. I'm not sure who did it, but I'm sure, this is the first time I've seen it, but it's probably not the first time that's anyone seen it out there. So I'm guessing that that's probably why they did what they did with this card, because they turned her into an activate card now. So instead of on reveal, add Widow's Bite, she's now activate, add Widow's Bite to your hand. So basically now she's not on reveal anymore, so they cannot do that. They can't do what they were trying to do. They can't Misery it and do it again, and then they can't do it again, so stopping you basically from being able to draw cards. I have a very hate relationship with stuff like that. Now people are gonna. It's a funny argument for me because I'm a Galactus stan. So you want to talk about not being, not allowing other players to play things? That is the ultimate way to do it with Galactus, because although listen, Galactus is nowhere near what he used to be, but back in the day, the Galactus whole Spider-Man shutdown thing is one of the worst things you could do because they just couldn't play at all. Well, now that now that that's out there, there's always other people that are trying to figure out new ways of doing this kind of thing. And I keep saying it, and I said it on the last podcast that I did, I think last week's or maybe the week before. Don't expect that you're going to play decks that are going to shut your opponent down in some way. Whether it's they can't draw cards, whether it's they can't play cards. Don't expect a deck to come up that does that and that it's going to last for a long time, because it's just not. Second Dinner is not going to allow this kind of stuff to happen. It creates a feels bad. So anything that you play that creates a feels bad, and I heard KM Best did his video on the OTAs a little earlier, and I watched it, and I kind of chuckled because he referred to those players as blue players. And that's a Magic the Gathering term. And that's exactly what I remember being. People who played blue back in my day of Magic. Now this was way back early in the 90s when Magic first came out. Mostly back then it was blue-white. But I can see what he's referring to by blue players, because they are going to want to play lockdown decks where they get their opponent to not do something. Back in my day, it was get the opponent not to be able to attack by using a card called a moat, where they couldn't cross, the creatures couldn't attack. And then they use other things to shut you down. Counter spells were blue, and they would just counter whatever you're doing. So they were just annoying and very, very bad to play against, and very, now, back then, nobody cared and nobody said anything, but game developers do not want to have feels bad decks. And so if you know that there's one out there, I still see, and this just goes to show me that there's a lot of players out there who just, and I call it liking to watch the world burn. There's a lot of players out there who just like this play style, and it doesn't matter if they nerf their deck. They're still going to try to play it because they still love that feeling of, I got you, you can't do anything, and I win. And being a former Magic player for so many years, I hate it. I literally hate it. And that's why I got so infuriated when they had the high voltage and people were doing the electro thing. Like, that's horrible. That's horrible to do. Like in a game, especially in a game for that, because there's no stakes. So I think these decks, I'm glad they stopped them, because they're obnoxious. They're terrible to play against. It feels bad for everybody that's concerned. And I'm personally glad that they stopped them. So I'm glad they did this, and I'm glad they made this change. And so that's going to be the end of the getting 3 Widow's Bites in your hand so that you can't draw 3 straight turns. So haha to all of you that are these quote unquote, like KM Best put it, blue players that, you just want to win and win only at all costs, whether or not that means making your opponent suffer in some way or another. So the joke's on you. It's all over, and that's not happening. So anyway, Black Widow is now in Activate. We actually considered this change for Black Widow when we introduced Activate, as one of the issues we saw with Black Widow when the card was a 2-cost was how strong it was to return to hand and replay. While Activate solved this bounce issue, it turned out that the 2-cost Black Widow was still stronger than we wanted to cost the effect, and the 3-cost version didn't have a lot of upside at the time. Since then, we've seen a deck coupling Grandmaster and Misery with Black Widow. That's the one. Grandmaster as well. Okay. Yeah, that's the one. So Grandmaster would hit it again, then Misery would hit it. So that must have been it. I don't remember the Grandmaster, but I could have just blacked out then because I couldn't stand what was happening. Coupling with Grandmaster and Misery with Black Widow to make a lot of bites become fairly prominent. We don't want that deck to be an ongoing fun risk. See, they call it a fun risk. You out there that like to play that way, you're a fun risk. So the Activate change now lets us make a slightly improved Black Widow on rate. So there you go. Destroyer. Oh my God, a card that just goes up, down, up, down, up, down. He's getting 2 points of power back. Same thing, on reveal Destroyer cards at other locations. So he's going back to a 6/16. We misjudged the impact of changing this on reveal effect previously, as it added less strength than expected in the lower series metagame. We're aware that this change also made Destroyer a bit weaker with Nimrod, but we're seeking to balance the uses of Destroyer in multiple decks and metagames, and higher-end competitive play has a number of options on that front. We're going to stick with the changed effect for now and experiment while pumping in a little more power to ensure Destroyer rivals some of the other big 6 costs. So, yeah, it's another fix of a previous nerf, like they did with Shadow King. I missed one. Yeah, I did. Agent Venom Surtur, Scar. Yeah, I missed Silver Sable. Silver Sable is getting nerfed. She's going from a 1/1 to a 1/0. So she loses a point of power. Over the last couple of months, Silver Sable became one of the more dominant 1-cost cards in the game. Bounce. Our target was a good card, but we weren't aiming to supplant as many other one-cost cards as Sable seems to have. The most popular and successful Silver Sable deck has been Bounce, so we've decided to go in this direction rather than with a half that steals 1 power. So, yeah, so this is, you're going to play her now. She's going to be a 1/2. So it is going to hurt the Bounce deck from playing her. Basically, like, the decks I was playing her in, that Toxic deck that's out now, I was playing her in that just because, she's stealing power along with Cassandra Nova and stuff like that from your opponent. And now that won't happen. So in essence, if you're going to play a 1 card now, that's going to be a 1/3 or a little higher, you may as well just play Hydra Bob, who's a constant 1/5. So yeah, so Silver Sable takes a nerf. Okay, Valentina. On reveal, add a random 6 cost card to your hand, give it -2 cost and -3 power. That's changing to -2 cost and -2 power. So it's losing less. Now, Valentina is also in that deck that I play, and it really doesn't matter either way because you're using Luke Cage. So it doesn't affect it anyway. Speaking of 6 costs, we're enhancing the one generated by Valentina slightly here by reducing how much power gets taken away from the generated card. Valentina is a risky card to play with, but pretty fun for players who enjoy adapting to their circumstances. We like to position those cards as strong enough to be viable. Okay. KM also brought up a point. Valentina's in Spotlight Caches right now. Bum, bum, bum. And I didn't spend any on it. I have the card already, but I didn't spend any on the Spotlight Caches at all. I used tokens to get Malekith this week. So, a little bit of, should we cue the X-Files theme? Of a conspiracy theory, maybe? Anyway, so yeah, I'm sure that probably had maybe something a little to do with it. Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes is going to a 2/7 rather than a 2/6. Bucky is a fun card in the early series metagame and has some particularly nice variants to boot. That Ultimate's badass. It has struggled to find a home lately in the most competitive destroy strategy, so we're adding a bit of extra power to the darker half of the duo to reward successfully destroying Bucky. They must like Bucky being dead. Admittedly, that new Thunderbolts trailer has us hype. So there you go. It's I don't know that this is going to change much. Destroy very seldom, unless I'm playing a low collection level player that's playing a destroy deck. Very seldom are you going to see this played in the main one, because they're just doing the Deadpool things with Hulkbuster and with Agony, and they're seldom ever playing Bucky Barnes, and I don't think that'll change. This will make it into, like I said, the people who don't necessarily have some of those higher up cards for destroy. This will make it into their decks, but I don't see that this being a thing. But yeah, that Ultimate is cool. So it's very neat looking Ultimate variant. And who knows? Maybe a 2/7 is nothing to sneeze at. It's a great stat line, but I don't know if it'll be interesting to see whether this comes, ends up in an actual destroy deck. Now, I can tell you just from my experience, and I don't play a lot of destroy, but most of the time I played destroy, I never saw him. I would never see him until like the end of the game, and that's pretty much useless at that point. So, it'll be nice for Venom, I guess. He'll get the higher points if the Venom meets it. But yeah, we'll see what that does. And the Thunderbolts trailer has me hyped too. So next is Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones going from a 4/5 gets +4 if no card is played next turn to a 4/5 gets +5. So she's now going to be a 4/10. Similarly, Jessica Jones is a straightforward and fun early series card. We don't mind making it a bit tougher. It might seem strange to buff another 4-cost card into the 10 power range given Surtur, but Jessica won't trigger that card's power bonus and shouldn't add any more strength to Scar beyond being a viable alternative to existing cards. To head it off at the pass, the answer is no. Shang-Chi doesn't make having 9 power better than having 10. It's true that the win rate difference between 9 and 10 may be smaller than 10 and 11, but it's still an improvement to get the extra power in every case we've measured. I don't see that this will make play in the meta. I doubt it. Again, but again, I'm always happy to see when they're buffing older cards, because it doesn't necessarily have to be about those of us that are in high infinite play. Not high infinite, but are infinite ladder players consistently, or are just, are just higher up maybe in collection level and stuff like that. It affects the people who might just be starting to play, or might just be playing in Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. And so already we've had 2 cards in Bucky and now in Jessica Jones that fall into that category. So, again, I'm okay with that. Destroyer as well, if you want to count that. So yeah, I'm all right with that. I think I think it's cool. Heimdall goes from a 6'9" to a 6'10". Speaking of 10, here's Heimdall. Heimdall is an exciting card and a pillar of big mover strategies, which makes it ideal candidate to reward with a little more strength. I've said this time and time again, and for the people who play move decks for the most part, now people mostly are playing move bounce. Some are playing move with Madam Web and Hercules, I've seen. The Heimdall ones, to me, are so easy to telegraph. You always know that, and again, it's because of that whole shift to the left thing. You always know where their big cards are going to go. So if they've got their big cards stacked, where the dagger's stacked, with the vulture, with the human torch, they're all going to move to the left. So you, kind of knowing that ahead of time, you just don't play to the left. You let them move all their stuff. You let the left lane go, and you just don't play there. And win the other 2 lanes. And now you're going to have a 6'10" that they're going to play in one of the other 2 lanes. Sometimes people play it in the lane that it shifts to, because they don't want all their big cards to go there. But now you're going to have a card that you can Shang-Chi. So you can now, technically against move, you can Shadow King and you can Shang-Chi to get rid of a bunch of cards with the Shadow King, and to get rid of Heimdall with the Shang-Chi. So I don't know. I'm not a move player. I don't know whether or not this is going to dissuade people from playing move, but I don't think this is a stellar change. I really don't. Next is unexpected. It's Crystal. Crystal's going from a 3/3 to a 3/4. Crystal's been a low-performing card for quite a while. However, we do like having some of these simple cards with puzzler effects available for players at weak rates. So we're not keen to rework the card again. We always want to tread carefully with drawing cards, because it can remove too much variance from the game to have it readily available, but a single power on Crystal doesn't seem like much of a risk. So yeah, a same ability, just each player draws a card. It just goes from a 3/3 to a 3/4. I don't really think it's going to be a big deal. Agatha's change is a text-only change. Instead of Agatha starts in your hand, she plays your cards for you on even turns. Now it is at the start of the game, draw Agatha. She controls your cards on even turns. This is a functional change to Agatha. We're just updating the card text for clarity, so that players can more easily realize Agatha doesn't work like Quicksilver, and that Agatha may move or activate your cards. Admittedly, we weren't sure about keeping the evens-only effect for Agatha following the conclusion of Agatha all along, as we said at the time. The change is primarily to celebrate the show, but it has made the card more fun and a more useful card for players, so we decided to let it ride for now. So they may end up changing that to something else. We'll see. Last but not least, oh boy, dust off the Mad Titan, because Thanos is back. And people I'm sure are playing it right now. There are people out there on Twitter that are rejoicing right now that they can play Thanos again. And so just get ready. You're going to probably see Thanos Surtur decks. You're going to see Thanos Lockjaw decks. You might see Thanos Zoo decks. You're gonna see it all coming out. You're going to see Thanos all over the place. And I think Cam best termed it, this is a little bit scary. And it can be. Because I think that with all the celebrations going on and everything like that, I think Thanos is definitely going to be back in the meta very, very quickly, if not right away. Thanos is 6'10". Starts in your opening hand and shuffles the 6 Infinity Stones into your deck. Now it reads at the start of the game, draw Thanos and shuffle the 6 Infinity Stones into your deck. So now you're getting an extra draw, which is a 6'10". It's not like you're drawing a slouch card. You're getting an extra draw that's a 6'10". Which, if you're playing big cards inserter, now you have a 6'10" in your hand that can be reduced by all the stone or by some of the stones. That's definitely going to probably be played on turn 6 or maybe a turn sooner, depending. So you're getting an extra draw, and that's pretty good. It says this, however, is a functional change. Thanos will now no longer take up space in the player's opening hand and instead becomes an extra card. Like Agatha, we considered removing a draw from one of the stones to soften the strength of this change a little, but our testing didn't make it clear we needed to do that. So we're going to let live play be the judge. Similarly, we have some buffs for a couple stones we're trying out in play testing. But we didn't want to change too much about Thanos, given we're skipping our next OTA. The real world is going to find a better Thanos deck than we will internally, so we'll see what it looks like first, and then add more once we have a clearer sense of what's needed. Boy, oh boy, I already saw, I think it's Zombies Go Nom Nom made a Thanos Lockjaw list. See if I have it. I can read it off to you quick. Yeah, it's Psylocke, Black Swan to play all those nice little stones down from your hand. Psylocke to get a big guy out quicker. Mobius, Hope Summers, Lockjaw, Cole, Arrow, Mockingbird, Goliath, Sasquatch, Thanos, Magneto. A handful of 6 and 5 cost cards. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cost, a 5 cost, and a 4 cost 10. All of these huge cards. Even Mockingbird, I know, is a 9, but you're going to basically get a free Mockingbird here. All playing with a Lockjaw list. Thanos you could get discounted and could be a 20 by all time when all is said and done. So this is going to be your meta, folks. And I can remember the great player Safety Blade once telling me, don't try to get to infinite right after an OTA. He's probably very right in this case because everything's going to change. This is going to change the meta. Thanos is back. The Mad Titan is going to be in the meta for sure going forward. And so things are going to change, and I had to put up I am inevitable. I put up the I am inevitable meme on my X. So, well, there you go, guys. That is the OTA changes. Oh, and there is one more note. This came from Griffin on their Discord. We had some late fixes changes to Malekith that didn't make it into the OTA notes. Fixed a bug where Malekith checked cards adjusted cost rather than base cost. Fixed a bug where cards like Bishop could activate their abilities before revealing when added by Malekith. We've also disabled Malekith's VFX to fix a bug where cards added by Malekith at the end of the game did not reveal properly. So that was all done today as well. All right, well, there you go. That is the OTA. That is what we got. We're going to be in for a new meta. We're in for a Mad Titan meta. Thanos was right and all that good stuff. And we're going to see. We're going to see how it goes. I'm sure I'll be probably trying that Lockjaw deck that I read off. But as always, if you are watching this, and this will be uploaded to YouTube, if you're watching from YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also leave me some comments. Tell me what you think. Are you liking the Thanos change? Let me know in the comments. Are you thrilled? Are you not? But yeah, let me know. Also, I will be working with Nick the Greek Geek on episode 3 at some point, probably later this evening. if not tomorrow. And also I have Red Eye Jedi, who I feel so bad. Me and him tried to get together many, many times, and work keeps getting in the way and different things. So, but Red Eye Jedi should be on the show tomorrow night. We'll see. Hopefully we can get that straightened out. Also, good news today on the guest front. The great Regis Kilbin did get back to me. I told you he's very busy with the Pokemon channel. So he got back to me, and we are tentatively making a schedule for him to be on my show on October the 25th, which is a Monday. So I am super excited to talk to Regis on the channel. And I've got some more people that I'm in discussions with, some more creators, content creators that I also am hoping to get on the show as well very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel to check and see where I am going or who I'm going to have next on the show. Also, I am now on Blue Sky as well. A lot of creators, fellow content creators for Snap are heading over there. I am going to also, now my Twitter is still active and still up. But you know, Twitter is what it is, and a lot of people are just getting away from it now. So if you're one of those that wants to get away from it for various reasons, I can't even name them all, but I've often said it's literally the worst social media platform there is, and I stand by that. And so if you want to get away from that, a lot of your favorite creators and a lot of mine, along with myself, are over on Blue Sky. So head over there. Look me up at Snap Decisions, very easy, and you can follow me and see a lot of the creators who I follow, and follow them too. We're you know, everybody that's going over there is kind of hoping that could end up being a positive space for people to be, and it's cool to see a lot of the other creators that have gone over to that. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me for tonight from my living room. Your Snap DJ is gonna go and do another podcast. Man, I can't get enough of this stuff. I have my wrestling podcast in about 21 minutes to do. So, yeah, listen, enjoy the rest of the week playing Snap however you choose to play it. Have fun with it. Those of you that are going to be playing Thanos and stuff, yeah, let me know in the comments how that's working out for you. Let me know what decks you're playing and all that good stuff. But that is going to do it for this video. Again, I should be back, I think, with one more video this week. I know it's like, what, 4 now? I had the, of course, check out the Snap on This crew. They were on my show on Monday. That's Ben Roller, and of course, Lauren Whatevs all joined me. So that's out there. The regular pod, which is out there from yesterday, or rather from Tuesday. And now this one, and then, of course, if I have one more, there's going to be 4. So check them all out on my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of those of you who watch and listen every week, no matter how you do. I appreciate all of you, and you'll never know how much it does mean to me. So, all right, guys, this is your Snap DJ signing off.